Again, thank you to the council for inviting me to come up and speak about biometrics. Many of you might not have noticed, but when you walked in the front door here, you saw a biometric solution there that IDEMIA put in place for Freddie Mac. The employees of this campus basically use what we call Wave. And that machine out there, basically, they wave their hand through it, and digitally it's looking at their fingerprints. So it's a biometric scan. And we have acknowledged whether that employee is supposed to be here or not, and if they're not, then the security would not allow them into the door. We use that throughout our Fortune 500 customers, and it's just one of our examples of our biometrics. So one of the things that you'll hear me say a lot today is, you are you. And that's really the mission of IDEMIA. It's to provide identity assurance to secure and simplify your lives and to secure payment diversity. Now, what does that mean? Again, we're looking to prove that you are you when you do certain transactions. So I'm going to steal a little bit from Jason's routine. I'm going to ask you a series of questions while you're busily eating. So when you hang up put up your hand, please make sure you keep your sandwich tight in your hand. So the first question to help you understand what IDEMIA does is, how many of you have one of these? This is a valid driver's license. Everybody drives, correct? Some of you may be an invalid driver's license, but that's okay. Well, IDEMIA does about 80% of the driver's license here in North America. So that equates to over 40 million driver's licenses a year. And when you think about a driver's license, every state's unique. All right, so that driver's license, when I first started driving, was a piece of paper that you fold in half, put in your wallet. Today, it's a very secured item for your identity. There are features in this driver's license that most of you will not even know about that are in here that are hidden to help with the security to identify that you are you. Some states actually now require you to take fingerprints when you apply for your driver's license. And then if you happen to get the rare occurrence to be pulled over by one of your state police because they think you were speeding, but of course you weren't, they will actually have a mobile unit with them that will be able to scan your finger to prove again that you are you. Now, one of the unique features that we're doing with driver's license is digitizing that driver's license. There was a survey done last year in the millennials. 80% of the millennials said they will leave their wallet at home and forget about their driver's license. But they'll never forget this. This is glued to their body day and night. They always have this with them. So is anybody here from the state of Iowa? Nobody from Iowa? Well, Iowa is actually the first state to provide digital driver's license to the Iowa residents. Okay, so what does that mean? It's not a picture of your driver's license, it's actually an application on your iPhone that shows your driver's license. And it has some unique capabilities. If you're a young woman, say 21 years old, and you're going into a bar, chances are you're going to be asked for your ID. Or you may not want to share where you live, your address, with that person that's asking for your ID. So to prove your date of birth, you can show on your license, on your app, just your picture, the actual license, but all your address information is not seen. So it allows you to customize it depending upon the situation that you're in. So the second question is, how many of you have one of these? Credit cards. Everybody has a credit card. Everybody probably has multiple credit cards. If you're like my wife, she uses them quite extensively. IDEMIA actually does over 250 million credit cards a year for North America. We produce them. Globally, we produce close to 1 billion credit cards a year. Now, what do you think a credit card is? Back when I first got my first credit card, it was a piece of plastic, had some raised numbers onto it, and I'll show the people who are older like me in this room. You used to put it on a machine, they used to put a carbon copy. You know, sometimes they would look your number up in a book, and I always ask the question, are you looking for my number or making sure my number's not in that book? And I can never get a good answer. Well, today, credit cards have evolved. They are probably one of the most secure items that you need to have in your possession. Many of the cards now have transitioned to having a chip onto them. Some cards we provide actually have an antenna in there, so you don't no longer need to actually insert it into a machine. You just hold it near the machine, and it actually transmits the information securely to that reader. Credit cards are evolving in some of the other areas that we actually have today. We actually have a module that you can put on a credit card that can actually take your fingerprint. So in order for the credit card to be activated and to be used for each transaction, your fingerprint is required. So I could give you that credit card today and you would not be able to use it because of my credit card or my fingerprint. Third question is, how many people have TSA PreCheck? Quite a few, thank you. That's 100% done by IDEMIA. We've worked with the Homeland Security and the TSA since they've been created back in the 9/11 days. We have over 8 million people right now signed up for TSA PreCheck. We have hundreds of enrollment centers across the nation, and when you do the enrollment for TSA PreCheck, we are taking biometric scans of you, not only of your fingerprints, but also of your facial features and your irises. We take over 100 data points when we scan your face and use that as a biometric validation. We're expanding that also now to not just be something that you use at the airports, we're expanding it to what we call trusted fan. So if you go to sporting events, baseball, football, basketball, or if you go to concerts, we will be having the ability to use your TSA PreCheck there to quickly go through security. So basically what we do is it's a special line. It will have a few monitors onto it, and what those monitors do, they are scanning your biometrics. They're looking at your face, and it very quickly does the analysis and allows you to enter seamlessly. So it actually helps expedite getting people through the security check at any sporting event. We also do that at concerts also. So there's a number of teams that we've partnered with, and there's a number of concert showings that we actually execute that on. So the fourth question, this is always the most difficult one, is how many of you have ever been arrested? A couple of hands, okay, that's highly unusual that I actually see. I always wanted to ask that question and everybody puts their hand up and then I'm going to run out of the room basically. Okay, it's always a funny, and you were innocent, I'm sure. Okay, very good. So we're the #1 automated biometric systems implementer for law enforcement. We work with many law enforcements in probably every state of the union. We work very closely with federal, FBI, CIA, DOD. We work for some of the largest law enforcement groups. New York City Police Department is the largest law enforcement agency in the world. They are a very good partner of ours. And what do we do with biometrics there? Again, it's to basically prove that you are you. We do a facial scan. No longer do you actually walk into a police station, you get that black ink on your hands to put your fingerprint. Now it's all scanned electronically and it's digitized. And once we have your fingerprints and your facial scans, we're running background checks on you to see if you're wanted for something else that you weren't aware of when you got your infraction. So those 4 questions there help me then identify what we do today as far as securing and simplifying your lives. Again, the digitalization of the fingerprinting, the digital driver's license, we see that growing. Every one of the states, again, we have 80% of the states we utilize our driver's license. They're all looking at the digital driver's license. Everybody wants it. They're not ready for it yet. The infrastructure is not in place, but they all want it in the future. Credit cards. Credit cards are, again, continuing to be utilized. Fingerprint biometrics. You'll see also we'll be using facial recognition biometrics, where you actually, if you're at the store and you're purchasing something, there'll be a monitor there. It'll look like a regular computer screen, but what actually it's doing is taking a picture of your biometric face and doing the analysis to making sure that you are you when you apply there. Again, right when you walked into this building, many of our Fortune 500 companies utilize the access, the wave access that we saw out front here. It's for access control. It's very quick. It's very simple. People don't have to worry about remembering their badges or anything because we have the biometric capability. In conclusion, with as far as biometrics are concerned, where is it going? Oh, I want to tell you a couple of other instances where we have it that could be interesting. Over in Singapore and a couple of the European airports, we actually have made it so that when you step out of your cab at the terminal, you will not interface with a human being or have to basically show your identity or your passport to anyone. And you can go all the way to where you board the plane. Again, it's biometric scanning. When you enter the airport, we ask you to scan your passport, and at the same time, we're taking a scan of your face, a biometric scan, understanding who you are. It proves to us that you are who you say you are. And as you walk through the terminal, there are a number of places where there's actually these monitors. And again, it's continually scanning to make sure you're going to the right terminal and to the right gate. So when I go there, I get scanned. It tells me, yes, I got to go to gate A10. As I approach gate A10, it does a final facial scan. It opens up the gate. I'm allowed to walk onto the plane. Again, no intervention with any customs agents or any security agents. It's all flowing right through. Another area that we're working with is on the cruise lines. When again, you're putting a large amount of people, thousands of people are boarding ships, and then they go to different ports of call, and they're unboarding and reboarding. What we're doing with Royal Caribbean is we're working with them. They're going to, again, do a biometric scan when people walk onto the ship. That'll give you them the record that you belong on this ship, and as you exit and enter the ship again, you'll go through that scanning process and very quickly be able to board back onto the ship. So what's the future? Facial recognition is an emerging technology. We have, like I said, many algorithms that we utilize to actually execute the facial recognition. It's continuing to get better and better. Ours is close to 100% as it is today, but we're actually looking at different biometrics also. I read an article on the way down here in a Biometrics magazine. There's a company that we, over in Europe, that's actually working on your heartbeat as a biometric signal. Everybody's heartbeat sends out a unique electrical charge. So they're working with some of the auto companies so that as you get into your car and you grab your steering wheel, that heartbeat will prove that you are you and that you are allowed to run that car. So there's different biometrics that are coming out there. Obviously, voice is another one that we utilize. A lot of background noise with voice recognition, so that's sometimes challenging. Again, the facial one will be actually driving a lot of our innovation going forward. Any questions?